So this message was sent to the institute where I work some time ago, and I'll come back to why I'm reading this in a second. I strongly urge you to check into the behaviours and statements of Mr. Flip Mason, spelled my name wrong by the way, also known as Thunderf00t on YouTube and online. I've recently been made aware that Mr. Mason has been using his position in your institute to promote hatred of different groups and to justify genocide. He has openly stated on his YouTube channel and in debate he participated in his sympathy for the Nazi genocide. Bollocks. His position within your institute leads me to believe that your institute may also hold such sympathies. Yeah, right. Whatever. I believe his conduct to be unprofessional, bordering on downright dangerous, and that he has openly harassed Miss Anita Sarkeesian and encouraged his online horde of followers to harass her as well. The result is she's been threatened with rape and murder almost constantly since he began his video series on her. Which reminds me, one of these days I'm just going to do a Thunderf00t Unplugged where I read Anita Sarkeesian's Twitter feed, because the idea that it's all hatred, harassment, rape and murder threats is absolute bollocks. You go through a Twitter feed and it's mostly people just calling her out on her bullshit. It's overwhelmingly people just calling her out on her bullshit. Anyway, right. He is openly racist against Muslims. Now at that point you might think this is a troll, but I happen to know this is actually someone who actually really believes this crap, that you can actually be racist against an ideology. Most people think it's sporting if you're going to be racist, it needs to be against a race rather than an ideology, but whatever, she's an idiot. His video series on Islam is a disgusting smear campaign against millions of people, and he clearly hopes to fan the flames of hatred and perhaps even cause violence. I believe he's broken the law, i.e. the law against the support and dissemination of movements oppressing human rights and freedoms 2001. He is in violation of this act on numerous levels. His attacks on feminism and human rights groups, yeah. His attacks on Muslims as an entire religion, his revisionist history, yada yada yada. Mr. Mason is literally running a hate army of 329,000 followers, and if he disagrees with your opinion, you will be attacked. You will be attacked by his neo-Nazis who are completely committed to white male supremacy. White male supremacy. It is time for you and your organisation to put the puzzle pieces together. 1. He hates Muslims. Nazi ideology. 2. He hates women, and mostly feminists. Nazi ideology. His followers are mostly white male Nazi apologists, revisionist sympathisers, who he commands like an army. Really. He openly supports Hitler. And the Nazi Holocaust is a good thing for humanity. What? Anyway. And so it goes on. I sincerely hope that you and your organisation will take this seriously. We're still worried that Miss Sarkeesian will be violently assaulted or even killed by one of his skinhead fanboys. And this is from someone called Laughing Witch. And the reason I bring this up is that recently I was going through some comments, and she genuinely thinks that this got me fired from my job, right? They genuinely think that I've been fired, which is absolutely hilarious, because there is no way in hell that they're going to fire me from my current job, let alone for something like this. But it also leads into one of these other accusations that get thrown at me quite a lot, mostly from feminists like this, which is that what I'm doing for the money. And it's like, what the hell are you munchkins on? I mean, just a little recap of history. I've been on YouTube for almost 10 years now. And for maybe half of that, probably about 5 years, I didn't earn a single penny off of YouTube. I did it exclusively off the back of a research career. That's where I earned my money. I did it, and in my spare time I made the videos because I saw all the creationist and pseudoscience bullshit that was out there, and at the time there was very little in the way of anyone debunking this stuff. And that's why I started on YouTube, was debunking stuff like that. And yeah, I I didn't get paid anything for it. And about 5 years ago, which is when I got doxxed. I'm still fairly proud actually that I managed to make about 30 million hits, or maybe even 40, before someone actually doxed me. That was before I earned a single penny off YouTube. And if you actually take an even wider perspective than that, when I was growing up, if you wanted something, you had to earn the money to get it. So, I started with things like paper rounds to earn money, and then I went on to work at McDonald's, mostly so I could get my first decent real telescope. It's bizarre actually. I actually quite enjoyed working at McDonald's. It was a good sort of team spirit. Lots of, I didn't mind working at McDonald's, but anyway, after that you start working at university, and they pay you for that. They pay you for the research that you do, and if I wanted to earn money, I wouldn't be doing research in a lab. I would be doing it in the private sector, where they pay sort of 2-3 times as much. That money comes with a lot of strings attached, which is why I don't do it. But the point is that I could quite easily be working. I've had offers from industry to work for really very respectable salaries, but for me, I enjoy the research that I do. It's kind of like having sex with the universe. That it's just you and the universe, and you're trying to work out how it all fits together and works. Research is interesting, and yeah, so that's where I've that was my real research path, and the reason I'm still doing it is because if I actually back away from the field of research that I'm doing at the moment, it's unlikely that anyone will be able to continue that research. So basically, if I walk away from that field of research, I can explain it in a lot more detail. It's not that people can't do it. It's not that it's particularly challenging. It's just that in order to actually be able to do this research, you need experience in several fields of science, and most people only get experience, when they do their PhD, they only get experience into one field of science. And if you go and do a postdoc, you maybe get experience in another. And you need experience in several fields of science to do the research that I'm actually doing. It's not that it's particularly hard, it's just that you need to stick with doing research for an awful long time before you'll be able to do what I do. So that's one of the main reasons why I've not walked away from the science. Another is it's having sex with the universe. I mean, it's just fantastic. The downside is, of course, is now that I have been doxxed, is you do periodically get people trying to get you fired, which it's just, why are you trying to target someone's job? Now, even if they manage to succeed here, it turns out that it will be an absolute Pyrrhic victory for them, in that, like I said, it's not going to happen, but even if they did, the transition actually happened a few years back, that I actually started earning more money off of YouTube than I did off of research, which was basically where I've been funding it all from there, to the point where now I can actually quite happily say to my employer, if it'll make life easier for you, then I can just quit the institute, and I'll just keep on doing the research for nothing, as long as I can keep on going on the YouTube stuff. But it's just, bizarre that after all this, the accusation is you're doing it for the money. And yeah, it's true that the videos on feminism get an awful lot more traffic than other videos. It's also true that a tiny fraction of those feminist videos I actually submit to the Patreon feed. Again, if I was doing it for the money, wouldn't I be putting them all in the Patreon feed rather than what I'm doing at the moment, which is I don't know, for the last year it's been significantly diminished, although all that sort of personal reasons that many of you all know about. But the nice thing is, of course, that with that extra support from the Patreon, that gives me a degree of security, which I've often wondered about that. I mean, in many ways, I've got one of the most secure jobs that you can get, in that the employers that I have, they're very open-minded in that I can do whatever the hell I want, basically. Right? Then they appreciate freedom of speech and all that sort of thing. So I have very open-minded employers, which most people won't have the luxury of. In other words, if you were to pull this sort of shit with most employers, that would be enough to get you fired. Right? That's the sort of nastiness that you're going to be dealing with here. Which would. Now it turns out that even if they did manage to get me fired here, I could go and do research in industry or whatever. But I guess the thing that bugs me here is that they would try and scope for your job at all, especially when the job is absolutely nothing to do with what you're doing online, but tangentially at best. And I find that kind of sad. I mean, I think I know where these people are coming from when they make all these claims about you're doing it for the money, and that's basically that Anita Sarkeesian gets shitloads more money than I do, and honestly, I don't mind that. In fact, there's part of me that that gives her the financial stamp of credibility, which otherwise she would actually really struggle to hold, in that $500,000 worth of feminist research, and what do you come out with? That it's not sex that sells, but sexism that sells. I mean, that's her conclusion. It's like, oh my god. And then people say that you're giving her all this attention, and that's actually getting her seen by more and more people. Good, really good. It's like Benny Hinn or Sarah Palin or something, that she's basically the Hindenburg of feminism. That actually having her go to the UN, I mean, you couldn't hope for her to undermine her own credibility and feminism in general more successfully than that. And as far as I'm concerned, that's fantastic, because feminism I actually see in many ways as a more serious threat than things like creationism. And creationism, they undermine school education and such like, but, well, creationists do. But feminists actually get into universities, and you get things like that Dalhousie thing where they're saying, women must be able to speak first because we're so persecuted. And it's like, what the fuck are you boys on? This is a university, right, where ideas are judged on their merits, not on gender. And then you get things, another one which, this was University of California, one of the world's most prestigious universities. And they had this thing that, how to recognize microaggressions from their Department of Human Resources or something. And they were going on about how saying that the best person should get the job is actually a microaggression against black people or something. And it's like, you've got to be kidding me. This is in universities. So, yeah, that bugs me. Anyway, I think I'll call it quits there. I hope you enjoyed it. See you at the next one.